Ryan McGuire and his 5-0 HordeList, where he took Gaz and friends, as he liked to call it, because boy, did he bring a lot of friends, bunch of friends, right? And just to show you guys, I'm not playing around, right? I have it right here. Friends and Gaz and friends day out. You can see those are all the characters he brought. So you guys looking right from BCP itself. Before I go over it fully, if you're double checking, like, did he mess up? No. He brought that many characters. Shout out to you. So he has some of my favorite combo on here. You guys know you fell for my trap card. I wanted to glaze Zod. No, I'm just kidding. I actually, this was more along the lines of the list that I like to run. Not saying that I was thinking for singles. Maybe this might be a team thing that he thought of in his head, but it will talk about why I like this style and why it still was surprising to me, which some things he brought. So we have a beast boss, like you always do. You always have to have that one beast boss, right, guys? You can't help but love it outside of the wall. Something that can get it done. Then we have a Big Mek with Follow Me Lads. Of course, he brought a custom Mega Blaster and his Power Claw. Goes with Gas. We have Boss Snickrot making his appearance, 75 points. Mandos did get a big glow up, but sometimes when you have Gas on your list, you just need to point you can manage, and so you just pick Snickrot. You need your infiltration, you're already kind of elite, so boom, Snickrot makes his appearance there. So even though he is a character, ultimately he's a utility. So then we have 2 war bosses, followed by a war boss in mega armor. Yeah, back making his appearance on Warhorde. Now, I am get heart, right? I'd love to see him with the Feel No Pain. You get the 4 Feel No Pain, but I'm sure he can't fit the points, of course. But if you're someone else that can't fill out all the units and you want to make some substitutes, that would be a fun thing to put in there. If you decide to bring a Big Mek and Mega Armor, you can put the 4 Feel No Pain on that guy. He's the second best target for that, alongside the Death Killer Bortrike. For this detachment. Then you have Zodgrod Wortsnagga. Let's go. So Zod making his appearance as well. Now, some people may wonder, well, you always glaze them, but why? Well, because if you already have one big brick of fast gets that are moving up the field, getting stuck in with a bunch of OC, moving through screens, what happens if you have 2 mobs of gits that are running up the field, running past screens with the bob of OC that the enemy has to try to dig out as well? Now, it's not as killy, but it's definitely very annoying and even faster in a sense. So getting them both, one's more of a tarpit, one's a mutual tarpit slash nuclear bomb. So in that case, it's a lot of meat for the enemy to choose through. And remember, Zod can end up hunting down the not ideal target for Gaz, trying to holding him in place, try to take the steam away from that target, whether it's a big killy melee unit, getting stuck in with the shooting target, flipping an enemy's natural expansion, so they have to prioritize cleaning both for their primary. And Zod himself can crump, right? So even though he doesn't crump as good, he still gets sustain, and then there's a chance you can fishtail the grots into his lethal aura, so then the run herders and Zod will get lethal sustain, and then of course they're +1 hit, +1 to wound. And I'll tell you how much, guys, how many times my run herders have absolutely done way more damage than enemy expected, because they're built-in strength 5, then they get up to strength 6 on the wall, they have 3 base attacks, then so it gets out of hand real quick. They don't have AP, but it's okay, it's just a bunch of punches. So Zod getting a bunch of get stuck in, giving them lethal on those run herders, and then all the grots punching people, hilarious. Takes a lot of chess time off for the clock, but you can always just have preset dice. Either way, it's a real thing. It's a real thing that I think I like as well. Now, it might be teams, right? It might be that these guys were smart enough to know I put them into the targets that can't just blend all of them, but either way, we have the 10 snaggers for the beast boss, 20 boys for the Gaz, 4 trucks, no wagons. 4 trucks, no wagon. Here we go, right? And that's where the little debate is, right? Do I want to bring 2 trucks or 1 wagon? Of course, there is still a point discrepancy there of 20 points, so you are paying less. 2 5-man units of flash gits, 1 minimum size unit of Gretchen, followed by a large unit of Gretchen, 1 big brick of Mega Knobs for the War Boss and Mega Armor. They do have twin kill saws, followed by 2 5-man units of knobs. I do think the 5-man units of knobs are getting the war bosses. And as for the Mega Knobs, they're acting as a anti-tank unit, right? They're acting more of, have Breaker Boys. I'm having more AP, which is something that I very much value. And everybody else list is the volume. Everybody else on this list is a volume of punches. So the Mega Knobs are going for the quality instead of the quant. And then, but Warhorde does help them a little bit with their quantity. Yeah. So that's pretty cool to see on that. Plus, you have, again, the same reality that this unit itself isn't easy to dig out either. So you have the Zod going somewhere, getting stuck, plastered to someone. Gaz getting stuck, hitting someone, getting plastered to someone. Meganob's running up, hitting someone, getting plastered, stuck in with someone. And then you have all these units you can fight on death, hard as nails, and you still have these units that are probably going to still be alive after they've hit you and you've hit them because they're 5 up invuln. You have to continue to try to dig out. Not to mention you have knobs running in there getting fights, flash gets getting trades in, and then all the trucks you have to clean as well. So it's a lot more to chew through than the enemy would necessarily expect, or people expect from orcs, right? Because usually people are looking at orcs and they're thinking, I'm just going to absolutely crump you with the one hit wonder. In this case, it was, well, I have the ability to just keep scoring even while we're getting stuck in these fights. And that reflected in some of his big scoring events. So he did have 6 games here. I said 5-0. I don't know. I wrote 5-0 there. Sorry, guys. And shout out to our Mad Get Wapo. Whoa, happy October. Hopefully I get that knob from you in October. You get because Mad Doc over here is hooking me up with an awesome knob get himself. So I look forward to that. Nice to see you using your super chat. 22 members since the beginning of the Great WAAAGH. Of course, the great Mad Doc Wapo has been here. So shout out to you. Thank you for that. You get and shout out to the chat, of course. Now let's take a look at him. He got 10 overall as an individual. Right there, John Lennon right there above him. Shout out to John Lennon. So we go to his path to victory. Let's take a look at what he was actually dealing with in each of these games. So we go first was Demon Time. Well, you on Crumpin' Time you get, because this is an absolutely best matchup scenario for us. Great job in the team pairing. So Be'lakor, Bloodthirster, Great Unclean One. We have the video on the math on this. Gaz, Brick, Ken. Not always, right? There's always 4 up and feel no pain can go either way. On average, do kill this Great Unclean One with this 4 up feel no pain. But you don't have to do that. Remember, that doesn't have to be the target priority. You can just kill everybody else. And this guy can run around being stupid on his own. But I just like to show the math. Then we have Rodriguez, followed by Scarbrand. 1 unit of Nurglings, a big brick of Plague Bearers, 1 Beast of Nurgle, 2 Fleshhounds, and some Seekers. So, of course, game goes. I throw some units forward. I kill clean their units. They bring big gets forward with demons. They get crumped on the wall. I get stuck in with Zod and all those other gets. And boom, it's over. So it was closer on points than that typically. Now, I don't know what the mission would be, but typically for orcs, they do have all the tools for that. Now, the mission can be an issue because the fat, big boy, Great Unclean One can end up, if it's a 4 objective mission in the middle, he can end up just securing primary nonstop because he is great OC for the most part. So even though he can get cleaned up, if you do commit to cleaning him up with Gaz, he can't get everybody else. So typically it's more reliable to get everybody else. And I should have mentioned one thing also that is actually important about this list was Rodriguez. Now, Rodriguez giving you -1 OC means that within range of him means that your OC bricks from Zod and Gaz aren't as reliable. But other than that, it is very much also the fact that he has the ability to kill you, kind of. I wouldn't say that reliably, but he has the ability to dig out Zod a little sooner than you would want. So I really much would like to know the mission there. But hey, I didn't know what it was. Let's go on to the second matchup because I want to show that. But ultimately, on most scenarios, that's a pretty favorable matchup for Orc. Then we go to the second game where he has the World Eaters. So he said some World Eater stuff at the top that said I'm getting crumped because fight on death. So we have Cheeks of Demon Prince of Corn, Karn the Betrayer, Slaughter, 2 Slaughterbound, 1, actually 3 of the 10-man units of Corn Zerkers. I think these are actually pretty awesome. They can stack lethal, sustain, they can get additional AP, disembark from rhinos, they're relatively fast. They have a blood surge capability. Very cool on them. They're kind of like wannabe orcs in that sense. And then we have the 2 rhinos for that. Now, something to keep in mind, I think this is the thing. They have a really weird data sheet ability on their rhino. That is something to keep in mind, kinda, but it doesn't always come up because sometimes they just get crumped anyways. But it was funny. I just felt like reading it out. It says meet any challengers in your opponent's movement phase. Each time an enemy moves within 9 inches, you can disembark. So that's funny. It can set up some funny interactions for heroics. Then we have 2 chaos spawn. 1 unit of 8-bound followed by an exalted 8-bound, and then 2 Hellbrutes and a unit of Jackals. So Hellbrutes can do some fun stuff where they hit 1 orc unit and then they continue the momentum. Ultimately, they are quite squishy though and can get crumped. Big issue for World Eaters is the fighting on death part of them and the fact that we're actually kind of fast too, as well as, like I said, when I said you can tarpit or have an issue with an issue for the enemy where you can block off one of their most killy units into Gaz while he kills everybody else. That's what Zod's really good at doing into World. You know, he's really good at getting in their face. You know, they're not flying, so they're just, hey, I'm in your way. Zod's now in your way, taking your primary. You gotta come and crump this git. So it gets really fun. Then we go into his third game. Which was into a fellow orc player. Shout out to Zach. Whoa, and his Dread Mob, because he ended up bringing the Dread Mob out. So we have double Big Meks, followed by triple Big Mek with shock attack gun. And then he too brought a Ghazghkull, you crazy git. And then a Zod. So shout out to this crazy git. One unit of Boyz, big 20-man brick. And then he went heavy on the battle line Grots. Love to see it. So 3 minimum size, followed by 1 big unit for Zod. Already looking forward to that. 3 truck, 1 unit of commandos, 1 unit of Luas. I'm sure that he had to ignore cover on one of the shotgun. Right there, you find our goggle. So ignore cover. Lutas there for when you're objective. Could be an issue for Boyz or Gretchen to a certain degree. 1 unit of Storm Boys, followed by 3 Tank Buster. Now, the issue here is that, in my opinion, you know, just my opinion is, oh, and shout out, he has the Boyz with gas. It's so hilarious with the Big Mek. He didn't pay for the stealth. The thing here is that with the tank busters, the difference between tactical brigade and dread mob, yes, you do get sustain and access to the button, but you aren't reliable to infantry because you're hitting on, right? So you stat speaking, you could hypothetically do really well into these mobs of, you know, gifts that you're going into and pop all these trucks, but it's hard to actually execute on that. And you're trying to go toe to toe with them and with the big unit of melee as well. But shout out to that git, because I absolutely love that list. The comments after the video, maybe we should check out this gets past Victor anyways, just to look how Zach did. So shout out to you, Zach, if we talk later in the comments. Whoa for that one. But Ryan did pull a big 20-point win there on our fellow Greenskin. So got each other's teeth knocked out there. Then we move into his 4th game, where he goes into the Chaos Knight. So he has Infernal Lance. We have 2 Night Abominants, followed by a double units of Despoilers. Then he has some Demon Allies, where he has double units of Beasts of Nurgle, triple units of Nurglings, and then 1 thick boy rotting. So it's going 4 big boys and a demon prince. Typically was a harder matchup for Orcs than it used to be. Back in the day, you know, it did come down, you know, go take some points increases, and their knights aren't so annoying. They do have Gatling double despoiler, Gatling cannons, and battle cannons. Which is the fun part that we like to see here. As we look at our gits list. Now, this is where I think you would be grateful to have something like more like Mega Knobs, and having the speed from Zod's unit as well, in my opinion. Now, they are eventually getting blended, but they take guns away that would eventually go to the Boyz and still be getting stuck in, and they can close the distance enough and quick enough for you to actually deal with these guys and get them in fights where they either don't want to be, right, not on objectives. Typically, if I can get a knight into combat and he's not an objective and I am with most of my unit, that's fantastic. So there are ways to go about these knights matchups other than absolutely killing them in one shot. Now, I do think if I can, I would kill Radagast for the OC bombing, but that's only if I know I'm also making contact in a clean way with other knights. In the ones that are going to be moving forward to take the mid table, right? Because ultimately it comes down to I have to play the game. But he did pull another 20-point win out there. Love to see that one into the Knights again with this crazy list because, you know, Knights used to be a problematic matchup, but just for that time window. Because before that, for most of our history, between most of our weapons and everything, when you go into beast bosses and Gaz and the combos bitten off there, you know, these guys can all end up getting blended. So he had a bunch of tools to deal with, you know, these knights for the most part, and he showed the skill that he can execute on that. So shout out to you, get easier said than done, right? And then we go into his 5th game, which was going into Necrons Scatterstar. So he has Catacomb Command Bar, 2 Technomancers, a Silent King, double Reanimators, double big bricks of Wraiths with 2 Crypto Thralls, 4 Durability, 2 Doomsday Arcs, 1 Ophidian Destroyer, and a Doom Blade. Now these guys are you know, the Orcs again are getting challenged on, do you think you can meet the stat check and you know, durability? And that's where having your boy the Gaz and all these different Mistley type units that he has on this list. Now, at the end of the day, right? When you really look at it, his list consists of 3 major units, which would be the Boyz with Gaz, Zod, and the Mega Knight. The flash hits are very important as well as to getting like problematic little elite chaff off the table or fighting something early in that case, right? But it's very much about getting all of these guys because of their actual army wide, their data sheet abilities going off on the wall means that they all have to be making contact and getting in stuck in with their ideal targets or somewhere up the field. But that's the good part about when you go into the Necron matchup. Necrons want to let you, not necessarily let you, but their game plan is close enough and aggressive enough in that way where you're going to be able to make contact with a lot of these units. Again, you might actually be a little grateful if your Mega Knobs can withstand some of the Wraith damage, or if they get stuck and get past and move into Reanimators, if they somehow touch Doomsday Arcs, where Doomsday Arcs aren't going to fall back and do anything. Don't have to kill Doomsday Arc, you just got to touch them. So again, meeting them on the stat line table check. 18-point win there. Love to see it. Got to be aggressive on Necrons when you can. Sometimes you can play them out in like a slow pace game and just keep the wall in your back pocket ready to destroy them. But when they're bringing those Wraith breaks, you know what time it is when they bring those Wraith breaks. So shout out to that one. 18-point win. Then we move on to his last game. Second lowest scoring game there. Late in the rounds means it was a good one. We have the Tyranid with a subterranean assault force, right? Where he's like, I'm bringing the new meta hotness of Tyranids. And Tyranids can be a little bit of an issue for Orks if you're not used to them too, right? I know I've definitely had issues with them where, their army ability, Shadow of the Warp, just turning off all my strats on my go term can be very annoying, right? So this can be a tough matchup, even though you can also just crump them off the table because they're not known for damage or durability, though. They're known for a lot of stuff and some shenanigans. So we have hyper adaptive. Well, in this case, they actually are crumpy, right? And this one, they actually can crump you. So we have hyper adaptive Raveners as a character, Neo Tyrant, Swarmlord, Turbogon. Double gargoyles, which again can be problematic because of their mobility. They fly, then they can also move forward, advance, shoot, and then they after hit you, they get again. Very good for screening, very good for OC bombing, but that's where you enjoy your Big Mek. But having two of them means they could overlap the screening. One, but typically they don't because they use them for scoring and they try to keep one for late game. One Biovore, double Exocrines, one Hive Guard, one Nero Tyrant, Big Breakers Hive Guard, two Pyrovores, two Raveners, and then a unit of Zoanthropes. So not the most amount of units that we've ever seen on the Tyranids list because of the more elite they went, but all these units can kind of deal with Orks for the most part with Raveners and stuff like that. Exocrines have solid profiles into trucks and the units once they get some bark from them. And as I said before, with the Tyranid game, it's really hard to say how those things go because how Shadow the Warp so swingy sometimes and can really impact games or absolutely not matter at all. And then you just crump them. But ultimately, he won with the 15-point win. Shout out to you. Let's take a look at his list one more time at the Challengers Cup for Ryan McGuire. We have a Beast Boss, Gaz with the Big Mek with Follow Me Lads, one Boss Necron, double War Bosses for the knobs, of course. War Boss and Mega Armor remaking his appearance. Now he's 80 points. With the big unit of Mega Knobs, which also got their point decrease in Twin Kill Saws, kind of filling up that Breaker Boy you roll maybe a little bit, huh? We have Zodgrod Wortsnagga. That way you can have more OC bombing. You have additional speed to go alongside those the Gas Break. Gas Break, right, on average is going 14. Zod's on average, he's already base 12. So then he would move on average 3 to 4 on top of that. So 15, 16, whatever you can say. And again, you're the pressure, the ability to get up the field, consistently hit them, take the initiative from them, and then everybody actually having good value from the WAAAGH itself. Between the Mega Knobs and the knobs themselves are, they can either fight on death or they have built in -1 to will on top of your artist nails and everything else you have to kill. So it just becomes just a little bit too much for everybody to chew on, but still hits hard enough to knock everyone's teeth out. And then sprinkle in some SWAT team flash gets in there. And there's only one thing left to say is great job, Ryan McGuire, and your great WAAAGH and getting stuck in, lad. We'd love to see it. I appreciate that archetype a lot. Really spoke to my heart and my green side. Another thing to check out is our sponsor, the Baron of Dice. They make high quality custom dice. If you enjoy our content and want to show some love, check out the Baron of Dice custom dice, including Wall Tactics official dice. To support us, use our discount code in the description for 5% off because nobody likes taxes. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!